than 20 minutes. So today, I want to talk a little bit about technology. If you're not familiar with Teads, we are the pioneers of outstream video advertising. Our original company tagline was reinventing video advertising. We not only changed how video advertising has been distributed on digital, but we've also changed the models and ways advertising has been transacted with advertisers. So today, I really want to talk about how we've leveraged technology to really open up new sales models and bring those sales models to publishers who are now taking advantage of those same tools that we've used for the many years that we've been in existence. So very quickly, a little bit more information about Teads. We're truly a global company. We have $500 million in revenue a year. We reach 1.5 billion unique users on a monthly basis. And this is across all markets around the world. We have 35 offices around the world. Of course, a very large presence in LATAM, of course. And we also have over 800 employees in the company, and a third of those employees are focused on technology, so engineers, really building our platform. So we call ourselves the global media platform, and why is that? Well, we consider ourselves the single access point to the world's best publishers. So today, we work with over 70% of what we call the ComScore 300 editorial publishers in the world. So if you look at every region that we work in, it's all the iconic brands you would think of in those countries. So the types of publishers we work with range from traditional print, like magazines and newspapers, like many of you have seen in the audience, and I'm glad actually to see many of our partners here at the conference, but all the way to media and TV broadcast companies. And what is the similarity here is that everyone is in need of more video inventory for video advertising. So we've really helped all these publishers create new video inventory, even the TV broadcasters, because they're typically sold out of what we call pre-roll. So why did we come into the industry? Well, we saw major issues in the publishing industry, of course, the advertising industry in general, when it comes to video. So as you know, as publishers, video is very hard to scale, because if you don't have video content, it's very expensive to produce. And even if you do have video content, it's hard to drive your users to watch that video on your properties. Because ultimately, most of the users that come to your sites or your apps are there to read articles. We also saw major issues with the formats in which video have been deployed to date, because people tried to force video, whether it's through interstitials or in-banner placements and below the fold where ads are never seen. So we knew that something had to change in terms of improving the user experience for video. But also, lots of video today is still in bad places. We're talking about user-generated sites, fraudulent traffic, something that premium publishers have an advantage where you guys have great content, great environments, but it's really hard to scale pre-roll. And of course, for the advertisers, they don't have enough inventory because most of pre-roll is typically sold out, so they're always in desperate need for more supply for their video ad budgets. So what did we introduce to the marketplace? We introduced Outstream. This is our flagship video ad format. It's called the InRead. Many of you have probably seen it or have it on your sites. It's basically a video ad that appears in between content in an article as you scroll down the page. The format is viewable by design, which means it only plays when 50% or more of the video is in view, which is for two reasons. One, it's for user experience. So as a user, and if you're reading an article, you could obviously skip the video by just scrolling past it. It will pause, and it won't interrupt your reading experience. But more importantly, it's designed for viewability, which is the major challenge in the industry today. It only plays when 50% or more in view, which is compliant with the MRC video standard. And also, it drives great performance because it's in the heart of editorial content. So if you look at the average completion time of our formats, it's over 11 seconds is in view on average. And if you compare that to, let's say, a social platform like Facebook, where they have videos in the feed and the user is quickly scrolling, videos are typically in view only 1.7 seconds there. So it's a major advantage for premium publishers to deploy video ads within content. So I want to talk about a little bit more about the technology behind it, because you saw the front end, which is the format, but we've really spent almost a decade building a platform that around the outstream experience. And we've actually released it to our publishers. We consider it the first advertiser-centric publisher suite. And I'll talk in more detail what that is. But first, let's look at the ad ecosystem today. So you have two sides of the ecosystem. On the left side, you have demand, or the advertisers that have money and budgets that they want to spend and reach consumers. And those consumers aren't publishers on the right. But the big problem we have in the industry is that there's a big disconnect between advertisers and publishers, because each one has a different objective. So advertisers obviously want to sell products or services. So they typically want to transact on a cost per something, a cost per shoe if they're selling shoes. But publishers are interested in revenue, and that translates from impressions. So generating as many impressions as possible. But there's a big gap in between. So how do you basically bridge that gap? We see the industry has created hundreds of vendors in the ad tech space. Many of you have seen this Lumascape chart. It's many different vendors trying to solve different problems to connect advertisers with publishers. But each of them eat away at the value chain. So looking at the demand side and the supply side, we see that advertisers obviously want to sell products. So marketers have come up with their own KPIs, typically a digital proxy in terms of what does it take to sell a product, and that's usually a cost per something, a cost per click or a cost per visit. But if you look at the supply side, as I mentioned, it's impressions. And impressions don't always translate into something that has meaning or value to an advertiser, because it doesn't generate a sale potentially. So technology has been introduced to solve this problem. But the problem is most of the technology that influences decisioning and where advertisers buy is on the demand side. So in the programmatic world, that would be demand side platforms, or DSPs. On the supply side, you have less intelligence. So basically you have a lot of publisher tools. For publishers, they're called SSPs or ad servers. They're only there to serve impressions, but nothing else beyond that. So what we've really brought to market and what we've evangelized is bringing an end-to-end solution to our publishers. So the Teads Publisher Suite is meant to take all those decisioning factors that you have with DSPs and bringing them to publishers so they can leverage them, and bringing publishers closer to advertisers and what they're really looking for. So what have we done? We've created an innovative end-to-end platform that's really advertiser-centric, as we mentioned. And we've been building this for many years. It's a full-stack solution that we've typically been using in-house for our own sales efforts to bring money to publishers. The big difference now is that we're taking this technology and we're giving the keys to that technology to our publishers. So all the tools that we use from our sales perspective is now available for publishers to use to sell themselves and better improve how they sell and sell to advertisers and meet their KPIs. How do we do that? So there's a number of pieces in our publisher suite. You've seen the top end, which is our ad experiences, our formats. But behind that, we have many tools. So we have a creative studio, which is our creative suite called Teads Studio. It allows advertisers to basically create better creatives that are optimized for mobile. We can introduce interactivity to improve the engagement. We also have an audience suite, which is our data, our DMP. So we have first-party data as well as third-party data to improve targeting. But the most important thing is our AI. And I'll talk more about our AI and how that differentiates our platform from any other platform in the marketplace, because that allows us to predict if an impression will generate an outcome for an advertiser. And that allows you to basically guarantee certain outcomes to advertisers. So how do advertisers basically transact on our platform? They could buy through our ad manager, which is our self-serve buying interface designed specifically for Teads. They could buy through managed services, which is our traditional IO business with agencies, or through programmatic channels, so through DSPs. They could set up deal IDs directly with us through all our integrations. So there's really three factors that we're solving for when we're talking about the goal of advertisers, right? They're trying to sell products. And how do you sell products? You have to address these three things. You need a creative, which will convince a consumer to buy. You need to target the right users, a consumer, basically someone's interested in buying the product. And you need to basically convince that consumer to make the purchase, which is an outcome. So our AI has been designed specifically to address these three things. How do we drive more outcomes, basically from all the impressions that we see? How do we target better? Because we're seeing 1.5 billion consumers around the world interact with it with content contextually. We're able to build lookalike audiences from all that data, including first-party data from advertisers, but also to serve the right creative. Because we have all this data on the users, we can actually dynamically generate the right creative because we know what they're interested in watching. So ultimately, what we're trying to say is we're moving away from a CPM marketplace, which has traditionally been how everyone has been selling. Everyone's selling impressions. But the real thing to think about is, how do you guarantee outcomes? And guaranteeing outcomes, there's a number of different ways, right? So it all depends on what the advertiser is looking for. Do they care about viewability? Well, then you should be selling on a viewable CPM. Do they care about completed views of a video? Then you should sell on a cost per completed view, or CPCV. Do they care about visits to their site? You should be selling on a cost per incremental visit to their site. So all of these things we're enabling now. We're trying to transform the way you think about selling to an advertiser, and basically getting closer, further down the funnel to an actual product sale rather than selling an impression. And it's not an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of technology. And why is that? So if you look at the decisioning process and all the data that goes into it, along these four lines, there's over 50 million variables that need to come into consideration when you see an impression. I mean, you're looking at who the user is. You're looking at what is the creative that needs to be served. What is the ad? What format is it? You're also looking at the context. What website or what app is it being served in? And also, even down to the device. Am I watching on my phone, or am I looking at on my desktop computer? What time of day am I viewing the ad? So all these variables fold into our machine learning. So just to give you a quick example of how this works. So if an advertiser we know cares about completion of their videos, then we're going to sell cost per completed view. So they're only paying when a video completes. So the major question you got to ask yourself when you're selling that way is, the impression I serve, will it complete? Will that user complete the video? Otherwise, you're going to burn a lot of inventory, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. So taking all those 50 million variables that we analyze real time, all that data gets fed into our machine learning, our AI, and it generates a prediction. So we can predict whether that user will finish that video, and ultimately that allows us to better model better model a guaranteed outcome and selling on that outcome. So now, what does that mean for publishers? So as I mentioned, we're taking everything that we've been doing, AI, from Creative Studio to DMP to formats, and we're allowing our publishers to take those tools and use them themselves and take it to the marketplace and sell on outcomes. So today, as a publisher, you could take your first-party data, if you have it, ingest it into our DMP and sell it, and append our own data as well. Teads has data that we give access to publishers. You could sell on a direct basis through our ad server, just like us, on a traditional IO with your agency. Or you could sell programmatically and set up your own deal IDs through SSP. And all of that sits on top of the same AI we were just showing you. And you could sell based on whatever KPI or outcome that your client really cares about. And it brings you much closer beyond an impression, but also you could also obviously greatly increase the monetization capability of your inventory and the value of your inventory. So I'll leave you with this. We've really grown an entire business over the last 10 years, I'd say, working with the top advertisers in the world. Most of them we work with globally, so we have global partnerships direct to many of these brands. These are just 6 sample verticals of advertisers we work in, all top tier, as you can see. But what that means to you as a publisher is that not only, one, you get great premium demand from Teads, but if you adopt the technology, the Teads technology, and take it to your advertisers, they're really familiar with Teads and very comfortable buying because we've been evangelizing this for, as I mentioned, over 10 years now. So with that, I want to thank you all, and hopefully come to us with questions. We have a whole team here later today.
Bueno, les dejo en manos de Ricardo